Sirha. She is the co-founder and head of data at Amardeep, and her talk is how to balance project management in an agile environment. So could we give a big, warm Agile Yorkshire welcome to Amardeep, please?
Hi, everybody. I'm just going to set my timer up so I don't just go on and on and on and on. So, yes, and make sure this works. My name's Amardeep. As Lauren said, I am the director and the co-founder and the director of data at Amardeep. We are a data software engineering consultancy, born in London, come back to Yorkshire because I'm born and bred to try and make a little bit of a presence up north. Now, we do work with some clients up north as well, but just trying to make a presence again. Today, I'm going to be talking about how to balance project management in an agile environment. So I want to start with some titles of our audience. So if you're in the engineering space or QA, can you put your hand up? No, interested. Scrum Master? Nice. Project Manager? I see you. We're here together. There's a few of us. Or Delivery Lead? Yeah, okay, perfect. All right, because, oops. I wanted to start with asking you guys, that's really small. How many of you think project management is unnecessary in Agile? Don't be shy. I hear the conversation. Oh, nice, brave. One person in this whole room thinks that project management is not necessary in Agile. Fine. Say it again, sorry.
That's what you mean.
Oh, we could sit here all night and talk about that. What do you mean by project management?
Project managers, job title, but projects do need managers.
Okay, let me ask the question a little bit different then. I'm talking old school project management. I'm talking Prince, ITIL. Do we think that is necessary? Seen a few scoffs. Do we think that that's unnecessary in Agile? Okay, a little bit more truth coming out. A little bit more truth. Okay, perfect, because I think what's really important is thinking about, can we balance project management in Agile without strangling agility? And I think that's what I'd like to talk about today. And I think it goes back to, what's your name, sorry? Max's comment of project managers, does a project need managing? And I think that's where the lines got blurred. And I think it particularly got blurred when, a while back, Agile became, let's call it popular, because it did for a minute. It became a bit trendy and popular, even though people have been doing it for ages, and they've been doing it well for ages. It just keeps changing names. There's always been an element of project management because ultimately, somebody needs to sign off some money so we can build stuff. So it is there, and I'd like to look at that today because I am a jack of all trades and a master of none. So I've got project management on there as well, or delivery lead, or whatever you want to call me, tech lead, whatever you want to call me. So I do get a bit offended when people are like, oh, project management, can I swear? Shit, stuff like that. But actually, let's see how we can balance it. I think that's really important. So the myth of no project management in Agile, I think is a common misconception, in all honesty. I think when people hear Agile, and they go really textbook Agile, they say no project managers. But if we're going fully textbook, that means no business analysts either, doesn't it? So who does that? Who brings that skill set? It was assumed, especially when it came a little bit trendy, it was assumed that an engineer or whoever else, well, they can do all the requirements gathering. They can do all of that. First of all, they might not want to do that. And the same happened with project management. And people panicked, and this new role called delivery lead came along, or delivery manager came along. And actually what they did is a lot of people got pushed into a role that they didn't fully understand because they were project managers and they were very good at their roles. And same happened with BAs, and they got pushed into different roles. So it doesn't mean no project managers, back to Max. It means a project still needs to be managed, but how do we do that? And the reality check is, even though we're working in Agile, we still need planning and coordination and delivery tracking and dependencies. And did that other team finish their work in that sprint because we're dependent on it? And it's all of that is still involved. Penetration testing, performance testing is scheduled with an outsourced company on this date. Oh, well, we won't be finished by then, or who knows? Someone's got to track that, right? We've already paid the company, etc., etc. So that's the reality check. And the real shift is from command and control. So that when people say program management or project management, and everyone's like, oh, because they've been burnt by one a long time ago. It's going away from that command and control and tidy your desk because the project manager's on the way, or get them off the Xbox, the project manager's on the way, back to a little bit more of servant leadership. And I think that's where delivery management and project management, they really go hand in hand. And I think this new role, whatever it is, call it whatever you want, actually takes from project management, old school ITIL prints, takes the good things that happen over in that space and it blends it into the new world. So, your traditional project manager, and I don't want to offend anybody, and I've done it too. We're all about predictability, scope, deadline. We love a Gantt chart. You come to our houses, we've got personal Gantt charts. We love them. We absolutely love them. I don't know why, but we're really good at them, and I think that's why. We can, even if it doesn't make sense, even if it's not tracked any dependencies and it's just a chart, we do love them. And you know why we love them? Because we're told to love them. And actually, it's a toxic cycle we have ourselves where someone asks us to put it in a nice Gantt chart. And I've had a very recent experience with a client who I really do love so much, and I won't name the client. We love them. But every time my engineers put a demo together, someone says, and it happens, as you know, every sprint, do you think you could put that in a shiny deck? Do you think you could put that in a shiny deck? And my engineer said the other day, because he just couldn't keep it to himself, which is fine, honesty, transparency. Just write the Gantt chart and put our demo into it like that. And it caused a big argument. Anyway, Agile, obviously we know it's iterative, it's flexible, but it's still outcome focused. When you create your sprint, you have outcomes at the end of your sprint. We're trying to achieve something. Now, it might be a sprint goal, but it's still an outcome. There might not be as much flack if you don't finish your work in your sprint and you take it over to the next sprint. But what will happen is a retrospective. And in that retrospective, you look at why you didn't finish all the points in your sprint. So you're doing some project management stuff. I'll just be honest, you are doing it. It's just got different names. So where's the balance? We need to align delivery needs because there are true value to the needs that project managers and delivery leads have without crushing the agility. And what I found, and what I always say to the delivery managers at Amity, when they're getting that little bit of flack and that little bit of pushback, is if you create, and we all try and strive for this, a wonderful team that knows how to point beautifully and blah, 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 the metrics kind of just surface themselves. And then you well, I'm going to go on to it, so I won't go into too much. But yeah, finding the balance. So respecting the fact that engineers need to engineer, and QA need to QA, and Scrum needs to Scrum, and delivery needs to delivery. We all have to have our input into a program of work to actually make it work. So it's the balancing act again. Project managers, we have to see them, delivery leads, enter word here. They're enablers, not dictators. Now, if you are experiencing a situation where there's a bit of dictatorship, you need to understand why. What pressure is that project manager or that delivery lead under? What are they not getting to make them a little bit more of a dictator rather than an enabler? What is it? Because there'll be some sort of pressure. Oh, don't get me wrong, if they're just being dictators, then they're just being dictators, and there's a few of us out there. But likely is that they're not being like that. There's something else that's putting pressure on them. They also need to learn how to manage expectations without rigid roadmaps. Somebody somewhere will want to see a roadmap. The reason they want to see a roadmap is so that they can align finances correctly with what's been... We've given technology, data, whatever, £3 million budget this year. Where's the ROI? And I know it's not a nice conversation. And I know we don't really care about that conversation, but somebody does care about that conversation because it keeps us all in a job. So we do care about that conversation. So how do we help the project manager, the delivery lead, manage expectations without a rigid roadmap? You know, there's lots of nice names now. There's a good one that I came across recently. I think they called it an epic roadmap because it gives you loads of flexibility in an epic roadmap. So we'll look at these epics, caveat. We don't know how big or small these epics are right now. We don't know what the scope of these epics are. And then we do continuous planning, not upfront waterfall. So hopefully gone are the days of a PID document, hopefully. But we do need to do planning, and we need to do continuous planning. So you know how you get into a good rhythm in your BA is looking at the next few sprints ahead and getting everything ready for the next few sprints. The project manager, if we get them into the thinking of, first of all, they're part of the team, they're also looking a few sprints ahead, or maybe a month ahead. They've got an idea of what's coming up. They can then help, you can help narrate their story for them so they're not in a situation where they're struggling. So continuous planning, not upfront waterfall. It's the panic, isn't it? It's the project manager panic. Why didn't you complete? Can you add more points into your sprint? Just put more points in. There's all those conversations, and that comes from a little bit of panic again. What is the root cause of the panic of that program manager, of that delivery lead? Helping them embrace the uncertainty, but uncertainty to an extent. We're uncertain about this epic because of. We're uncertain about these couple of stories because of the dependencies on. And then focus on value delivered, not just velocity. So again, going back to the metrics bit. Metrics, I know, is a word that people absolutely hate. And I know it's because at one point I worked as a permanent employee in a company, and I was in a delivery role, project manager, and they started asking us to bring points delivered per team, to compare it to other teams, to check how fast teams were going. And I remember sitting in there, and I'm talking old school project managers also shaking their heads, like, what is actually happening, where you've got like maybe a team of 4 or 5 engineers versus a team of 10. Maybe the 4 or 5 engineers are more experienced. We all know that's not how points work, first and foremost. And also, some were using Fibonacci, some weren't. So now we're all sat in a room, scared for our teams that we're going to get punished, talking about how many points our team delivered, which was really awful. So how do we move that to value? So then it went all the other way, didn't it? And people were like, scrap points. We're not doing points. We're just going to crack on. But again, that goes back to how you're not balancing project management there, because someone still needs to understand and know what's been delivered and the value. Again, setting up the team in the right way, including the project manager, making sure you've got everything set up. Your metrics they just generate themselves. They honestly generate themselves. And then it comes to a point where everyone's seen it, like on a burn up or burn down, where it kind of stagnates because one story just got stuck and you all mobbed it and it didn't finish and it goes into a straight line. That is a project manager's worst nightmare. It's their worst nightmare, honestly, because they don't understand it either, why that might have happened. Explaining to them why that's happened, talking about reflecting, being in a retrospect, talking about, well, you forced us to take a story in that wasn't fully understood. The dependencies weren't tracked, et cetera, et cetera. So focusing on that. So metrics is a really key one, because I think each team as well can find their own metrics that they're happy with reporting on, rather than all following sort of one specific thing. It used to be points, it might be something different now, but finding that balance as well. And some common pitfalls and how to avoid them. Over-documentation, jeez. Just slows down teams. We've all hopefully heard of just-in-time documentation. It's an old, just-in-time has been around forever. Think about your laundry. You do it just in time, do you not? Finding the balance of documentation is so key. I'd like to ask you, in a small programme of work, what do you think is the most important document that you can write or someone in your team can write?
User story.
User stories, very good.
Release note.
Release notes. Oh, change management here. No? Release notes. I wouldn't even say it's that.
I'll say PRFAQ.
Don't even know what that. I don't even know what that is.
So right up front before you do any work, write a press release as if you just release what you're doing. Get all your stakeholders together, get them to ask questions about said press release. From that, you can refine your press release, go, this is what we're going to produce. And it's there, and everyone in your stakeholder team has agreed it, and from that you can draw down your requirements.
Oh, I might steal that. It's very good. I wouldn't have said. It's very, and also it's keeping them focused on the same goal and taking them back to the goal.
And everyone knows what you're doing because you've all agreed up front.
I like that. Wouldn't even have said it's that. Some architecture? Your technical architecture? Something? How many times have you gone into an organisation and sat with your engineers or you've gone, this is probably the worst one, it's not greenfield and you've jumped into a programme of work and you're asked to do some engineering straight away and you say, oh, OK, well, has anybody got the architecture that we can have a quick peek at? And no one's got one. I think somebody wrote something a year ago. It's on Confluence somewhere. I'll find you a link. So just getting enough documentation, that's from everybody. Just enough documentation, your user stories. Just the right amount of documentation also prepares and helps the project manager understand that they need just enough documentation as well. They don't need loads of Gantt charts, actually. They could make one and it could work. They don't need to keep rewriting the same one. Pitfall 2, forcing Agile into waterfall reporting. We have to take this one on ours because that's where project managers and delivery leads and tech leads that are non-engineering, they need to go and explain that the reporting we're being asked to do doesn't work with the engineering that you've decided in your organisation that you want to do. You've got a tribe set up, you've got guilds set up, you've got scrum teams set up, they've got their sprints aligned, everyone's happy, and then you're asking me to give you metrics that will just never happen. And that's where I think has been what I've seen anyway, the nicest shift I've seen from project management into the Agile world, where they do push it back. But the point is not to say no, the point is to help people understand and make it feel like it's their idea. That actually, instead of reporting on this, wouldn't this be so much more useful, and show them a working example? And what I like to do, especially if we go into massive organisations where they want quite a big transformation of organisational changes, I always find a team that's quite established and they know what they're doing and they're running really well, and I start to surface the metrics from that team, then they become the exemplary team. And then I use them as almost the kind of role models, the advocates of how we're going to work in a new world. And that also helps as well. What did people used to call it? Wagile? Remember that? That was going around for a while. People are wild. And then ignoring leadership buy-in for Agile adoption. So what we saw about maybe, I think it was about 10, 15 years ago, is we saw all these organisations go Spotify model and try to replicate it. There are companies that are still doing that. They're still trying to replicate it. And what they're forgetting is, whilst your CTO, your CIO, your CDO, whoever it is, in that area is fully bought in, they also report into somebody. They also sit on a board that don't know anything about Agile. So now they're fighting the fight on their own. It's so important that you need to have leadership buy-in. And that, again, comes from your project managers as well. If you help your project managers, your delivery managers, your non-technical team understand what you're doing, they can then advocate for you as well, and everyone just becomes an advocate of it, and it goes up and up and up. I hate buzzwords. I absolutely hate buzzwords. But Agile buzzwords also, just to let you all know, piss people off. Because you come here with your Agile mindset, you say buzzwords that we don't understand, and all we want to talk about is prints, okay, what we learned. So if you don't understand, if you've got to look at your team makeup, you've got to look at your organisation makeup. There's no point saying a Scrum team if people don't understand. I remember the first time someone said to me, Scrum Master, do you know what I genuinely thought it was? Does anybody know what Reiki is? Right. I thought it was someone who sits in the Reiki world and does healing. I was like, Scrum Master, that's really cool. When do you do that then? And they were like, in my role. And I was like, oh, how do you do that with a full-time job? And they were like, do you know what we're talking about? And I was like, yeah, isn't it like that healing thing? I've heard loads about it recently. And they were like, no, that's a Reiki master. I'm a Scrum Master and this is what we do. So that's what happens in the organisation. Somebody in marketing that really needs real-time analytics badly now, they don't care about your buzzwords. They don't understand your buzzwords. Use your project manager to be the glue in between. Get them on side, help them, let them help you, and everything goes fine. So some key takeaways. 20 minutes, done all right. Key takeaways. It's really important that we facilitate and we don't control. Project managers, generally in our personalities, we are controlling. If you come into our personal life, we're also a bit controlling there. We like the control. It's why we do what we do. We enjoy it. There's a sense of value from it. That's fine. But how do we leverage that and turn it into facilitating rather than controlling? Or give us an element of control. Pretend. Give us an element of control. Balance. It can tip the other way. It really can tip the other way, where you become so agile, you're now rigid. And you've gone all the other way, and we're not doing that, and we're not doing that, and you suddenly become what you fear the most. So it's about adapting principles and not a rigid process, and remembering that actually a project manager, a program manager, what's that team called as well? Something office. PMO. They have everyone has a place. How do we now look at all our roles, look at what we need to achieve, adapt and adopt the right principles, also in line with our organisation? How many times has a BA gone from one organisation to another organisation and they're doing completely different things that they thought they were going to be doing? And that's how you have to also adapt to your organisation as well. Everywhere's not going to be the same. And don't become, just like we don't want the program managers to be like Prince and Nigel. We also don't want the other side of it where it's not agile, it's become so rigid, it's a fight again. And the other one I want you to think about when you leave is how can you improve the balance in your teams? So if you're thinking now, I've got a great delivery manager, that's amazing because you've probably got the balance really well. But have you thought back and reflected a little bit about yourselves as well and thought, I've sat in a meeting where it's clear that the program manager needs something desperately. They've not got it for whatever reason. I don't even care why they haven't got it. I don't care why they're panicked. They're part of your team. And you've been too rigid as well. That's not how we do it. That's not agile. So it's about finding the balance in your teams and in your organisations, because you might go to a different organisation and the balance has changed again. And that's me. Thank you.